in the regulation where drivers have confrontations with officers on the road because they decide to retain driver's license. So let's please get ourselves abreast with what the regulation is saying, so that at every point in time we'll be informed and we'll know what to say to the officers or request of the officers when they demand for a license and they want to retain the driver's license. So what is the LI saying? So regulation 47 sub-regulation 5 is saying that a police officer in uniform and not below the rank of an inspector may, where necessary, retain the driver's license for the period that license is required and shall issue an official receipt for the retention. What this means is that a police officer not below the rank of an inspector may retain your driver's license. It means that if the officer is not an inspector or above, he will not retain your driver's license, or he may not retain your driver's license. But in an instance where the officer is working under a supervisor or who is an inspector or a chief inspector, it means that the supervisor will then direct the officer to issue a document or whatever so that he will retain the license for the chief inspector or inspector that he is working under, because the chief inspector or inspector may not necessarily write the check for you. Better. And then the officer that is below the rank of inspector may not be the one that will retain your driver's license. Your license will be with the inspector or chief inspector. So what do we mean when we say somebody that is not below the rank of an inspector? So it means that the person is an inspector, a chief inspector, or a senior officer that is an assistant superintendent of police and then above. Those are the people that may retain your driver's license unless they are working with a sergeant or below, and the sergeant may then write a check for you or maybe instructed by the chief inspector or the senior officer to retain your license and then be handed over to the inspector or senior officer. But then there's also the regional sergeant major and the district sergeant major, who are the equivalent of inspector and the chief inspectors. They can also retain your driver's license. But then the sergeant and the corporal and the lance corporals may retain your license in the name of the chief inspector or the supervisor that they are working with, because they may not retain the license in their name because they work with senior officers or supervisors. So the supervisor, who is the chief inspector or the district sergeant major or regional sergeant major, will direct them to do that and issue a check appropriately or accordingly to you. So once they take the license, the regulation is saying that they are supposed to give you an official receipt. So this is the official check appropriately or accordingly to you. So once they take the license, the regulation is saying that they are supposed to give you an official receipt. So this is the official receipt that we are talking about. A sample of it is here. So we'll have your vehicle registration number. Your make of vehicle will also appear. The date and time of arrest. The offenses will also be listed as they appear here. And then the name of you, the driver, that is the person driving the vehicle, your name will also be captured. Your name will also be captured there. The date and time of your arrest will also be there. The place of arrest as well. And then where you are supposed to report. So you are supposed to report at a particular station that will be directed on the document to report to. And then the arresting officer. So the arresting officer is the officer that has effected the particular arrest we are talking about. And then the documents retained. If it is your driver's license that has been retained, the officer will do that. It will indicate the driver's license that has been detained. And then the supervising officer, that's what I'm saying, that the sergeant or corporal or lance corporal may not retain your driver's license, but then he may work under a supervising officer who may be an inspector or chief inspector and above. So he may issue the check in the name of the inspector or chief inspector and hand the license over immediately to the chief inspector or inspector, and not necessarily keep the license by himself. But in an instance where a junior officer, a sergeant or whoever arrests you and then decide to take you to the station, may not retain your license at the time where he does not want to retain your license because, or he can't retain your license because there is no supervisor or a senior officer around. You may have to drive with him to the station if he demands that you do so, so that at the station the inspector or chief inspector may do that for you, retain your driver's license, or the arresting officer may put his details and they issue the check in the name of the senior police officer or the chief inspector or inspector, so that you can go and then continue if that is the process that they want you to go through. So let's please avoid confrontation on the road with our officers because of driver's license retention. They may not retain the license, they would have to be working with a supervisor, and the supervisor that they work with at the police station or to another officer as may be directed by the arresting officer or the officer in question. So the key word here is that may. So when you say you may do something, it means that the officer can or could. So the officer has an option. He may decide what to do. Once the law says that he may, the law didn't say that he shall give you the time or he's supposed to give you the time. The law says that the regulation says that he may. So the officer can decide to give you the time to produce your driver's license within 24 hours, or he may decide to take any action that he wants to take against you. If he wants to put you before the court and then let you go through the process, then he will do that, so that eventually when you have your driver's license, or you tell the court that you have a license, I'm sure that the sitting judge may listen to your plea and give you an opportunity for you to produce the driver's license. But please do not put it at the neck of the officer that he is mandated to give you 24 hours to produce your license. No, please let's get ourselves abreast with this particular regulation, because it is very important. The law, it says that the officer may request you to produce within 24 hours your driver's license to him. The law didn't say that it is compulsory. The officer has to at all costs give you 24 hours to produce your driver's license. He may decide to take any action that he wants to take or is mandated by the regulation or by the law, if it is to put you before court, or he may listen to your plea to produce your driver's license within 24 hours. And then let's get to regulation 47. What is it also saying? So it's saying that when a person driving a motor vehicle is required to produce a license, a certificate, or a document relevant to driving the motor vehicle, that person shall produce it immediately or within 24 hours of being required to produce the license, certificate, or document. So if the officer says that you should produce the license, you shall produce it immediately or within 24 hours of being required by the officer. So if the officer requires you to produce the license within 24 hours, then you will have the opportunity to do that. Produce the license, the document, or the certificate that the officer is requesting you to produce. Let's look at another important thing that has to do with driver's license. So the officer has requested for your driver's license. You have been able to produce it immediately, or he gave you 24 hours to produce the driver's license. There's also the case of retain or retention of driver's license. The officer may retain your driver's license. What